tonight is another special night, and it's a night where we're having a very Amazonian leader, an Amazon woman who is at the forefront of development in the financial sector. She has so many experiences and achievement. But let me start from the fact that she was the most recent chairperson, or sometimes she likes to be called chairman of Access Bank Nigeria, the immediate past chairman of Access Bank Nigeria. She's a woman of influence. She's globally recognized as a credit and risk management specialist. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the privilege of having tonight on the program our mommy, a big auntie to many people, my own mommy, Auntie Mosun Belo-Olusoga. Auntie Mosun, mommy, good evening. How are you doing, ma?
Ambassador Dayo, Israel, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. Good evening.
Thank you, ma.
Good to be here.
Thank you, ma. Thank you so much. It's
Good
so
evening.
good to have you. There is so much of...
I'm well done. I'm so proud of all the work you're doing.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma. You've put together so many years of experience in the banking sector. You were part of the pioneer team at GT Bank. You've worked in many organizations. Now you sit as chair of many private sector organizations on the board. As a matter of fact, you were the first female board member of Access Bank, and you became chairperson, and I believe was the first female chairperson of a bank in Nigeria. And by the time you were chairperson, you already had 5 women on the board of directors of the bank. Now, that's a lot of achievement. How did you get all this done, ma?
Wait, what did you say? The first female chairman of a bank in Nigeria?
I
or
said
the first chairman of Access Bank? First female.
The first female chairperson of Access Bank. And I might not even know, that might even be the first in Nigeria, I'm not sure, but you're the first female chairman.
No, first female chairman of Access Bank, but we've had a few female bank chairmen, right? We've had the likes of Ayora, Bolaji, Kufuri Jolubi. We've had Mrs. Eniola Fadayomi and Mrs. Osaretin Demure was made chairman before me. So we've had a few, not too many, but I was the first female chairman of Access Bank. And incidentally, I was also the director of Access Bank and the first female director, executive director of Guarantee Trust Bank. And also I'm the first female pro-chancellor of Council of Olabisi Obasanjo University. So I'm very proud to say that as well.
So you have been shattering the ceiling, you have been breaking the ceiling, you have been shattering the table. What is the secret? I think the people on Instagram want you to move here a bit, man. The Instagram people want you to move here. Exactly,
here,
yes.
Or here?
No, the other way.
Where?
This side, yes. No, a bit, man. Keep going.
This way?
Exactly. Perfect.
Left or right?
Perfect. You're
here,
perfect
like
now, man. You're perfect now. You're perfect now, man. Yeah, this is perfect. Yes. Yes, this is perfect. So we can hear you, mommy. That is a lot of first.
Good.
So what would you consider the secret of all of this first for a woman in 21st century Nigeria? Can you hear me, ma? Okay, I'm not sure. I think the network from Auntie's side is a bit challenging, but I'm sure that she'll be back. I'm sure if you can see me, guys, can you say something? I don't know if it's the network from my side.
I didn't hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now, ma. I think it's your network, not mine.
Yeah. Okay, if you say so, because you are shaking from my end. My own end is able, but it is okay. It's network.
Okay, mommy. So what's the secret to all the first?
Mm, yeah. Um, I think it's God's mercy, and believer in being, when you do the best that you can, you give your best, you're not afraid of hard work, you work hard, and when opportunities arise, that you're a thorough person and you stand for excellence. And when those opportunities arise, you are ready. And once you're ready, you can fill in the position. But like I said, it's God's mercy. There are people who have done, even who have better educational background. My educational background is nothing to be sniffed at. I did very well in school. Um, but then it's not just that, but God's mercy, being prepared, being ready. And once you are there and you're tested and you've proven yourself, then your work speaks for itself, and other people would also invite you to be part of their own story too. So I believe in prayers, hard work, being ready, and taking advantage of opportunities that arise.
What level of risk did you have to take? What were some of the level of risk you had to take for your business success and to reach this echelon, in particular as a woman and a married woman in particular?
Okay, the first major risk that I took was for people who know me, my background is actually in accounting. When I left university with a BSc degree in economics, I became a chartered accountant. I articled with Coopers and Lybrand, and I had done about 6, 7 years in Coopers. I was already an assistant manager in Coopers. Like I said, I graduated quite well, and I did very well in my exams. So I had done about 6, 7 years in Coopers. I was already an assistant manager. But when you do audits, it becomes monotonous because you're auditing the same firms over and over again. So you know the firms very well, you know what you're going to look at. So I found it monotonous, and I wanted to change careers. And in the late 80s, what was fashionable at that time was to be a banker, especially a merchant banker. I applied some, I think specifically because I didn't have banking experience. I had accounting. I wasn't, so I had to a level cut, but also a salary cut. So if I had said, okay, no, I'm not going to take the risk of get lower pay than I have been used to, with my um, on the track. Not in that time, we didn't have any in a library. So I had to decide that, okay, what do I want to do? So I did taking a step backward in order to propel.
Okay, I'm not sure if this is for me. Okay, guys, I'm not sure if this is from me or this is from Auntie. So can you confirm if you can see me? Then I can know it's from a network. Please confirm if you can see me. Guys, if you're watching, can you please confirm if you can see me? I don't know if this is from me or this is from her. Okay. Yeah, you're back, ma. We lost you for a second.
Yeah, I lost you too.
Okay, ma, we can hear you, ma.
So I was saying the first thing I did was to change as a pay cut. But I was very determined because it was like, okay, and then prove myself. For years, I was after Anderson was um, put in, and the people that they thought could add values, and I was one of the people. So when you're when you work hard, whether or not you are intense, you're watchful, it was unlikely that I was part of the pioneer staff of Guaranteed Trust Bank. So at that time, Continental Merchant Bank was doing very well. My team leader and I were supposed to access they went, people were not sure whether it was going to survive or not. So again, it was a risk that I took back, subsidiary of Chase Manhattan. That's how they used to describe themselves at that time. So you're leaving a well-known brand for a no brand, so to say. But I had a very strong belief in the people setting the organization, and I decided to risk it and say, okay, the risk I'm willing to take. I'm willing to be a pioneer, and let's see what we'll build out of that. So those are the two major career risks that I took.
Fantastic, man. So before I begin to throw my questions, what would you consider the top points that entrepreneurs and business owners must consider when they are making business risk? That entrepreneurs and business owners have to adopt and apply when they're taking business risks.
Okay. For me, if you actually want to start a business, ask yourself and be honest with yourself. Why do I think it is lucrative? Can make money. Some people think a gap in the ecosystem that they want to, or there's a problem that they want to solve. They want to that problem and be able to help the community, right, or the environment I am, because when you're honest we know why you want to start the business, then your charity will now drive the business, right? So having determined that, you now say, okay, what do I know how to do best? Because I can say, for example, when I was in secondary school, I actually wanted to be a doctor because it was very fashionable to say, okay, you're a doctor. You know, I used to call myself a Dr. Mosun, but truly, my physics was horrible. I got a P7 in physics. And unfortunately, I had an accident that I was in Louth for a whole term. And during that term, that was when you're probably too young, Nigerian flour mills had a fire incident, and lots of people were in shit, you know that, okay, that person, my 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 love for medicine. So I thought, no, I discovered I didn't like the sight of blood. So not to talk of doing operations and things like that. So that cured me of that desire to be a doctor. So find out what you have passion with, because that what you have passion in makes right, because you will be doing out of love for it. Either I find it like a chore. We used to invite to Guaranteed Trust Bank. We invited quite a number of people. So Aliko Dangote used to come to the bank, and I'm usually very much in, because he's actually a very, very brilliant man. And somebody asked him a question: how do you do industries? So he had this company, he had insurance, he had banking, he had a bit of manufacturing and different factories. So he had textile manufacturing, and for him, his having his hand in so many pies was very, very much like a hobby. So he was very interested in knowing, okay, he had a bit of telecoms and things like that. So he was very interested until he now decided to focus his businesses into manufacturing. And that was when he disposed of all the ancillary, all other businesses like the insurance, the banking, some of the trading. Right. Lots of people go into businesses because they think that because somebody is doing well in a certain line of business, you to business bring in diesel. The people who business were doing well, but if you went in that in the business, then there's going to be a problem. So you have to know what you have passion with and study the business, have knowledge of the business. When you have knowledge of the business, you do your proper business plan, right? You do your business plan. I had a friend, we're working in Continental Merchant Bank at that time. So when he left the bank, he retired. He got his gratuity, and in the late 80s, early 90s, 2 million was a lot of money. He had 2 million naira. So he said, business, I'll tell you about it later. So a few months down the line, I saw him. I said, oh, how's your business going? He said, Mo, I lost money. What did you do? He said, I went into cocoa business. Do you know cocoa business? He said, but it was just about going to buy cocoa seeds and not. Cocoa is very, very delicate. People, cocoa has to get moldy. So by the time he brought cocoa beans, they were wet. He brought them to Lagos. they were already moldy. He couldn't export, so that's how he lost. And the farmers knew what they were doing. They will sell you whatever. You don't have the knowledge. So it is paramount for you to know exactly the business entails, what the risks of the business entails, and then do your business plan before you go on. And when you do your business plan, be very realistic about funding, right?
Be realistic about funding in your business plan.
That before they start business, they important. You don't have a lot of money to start, but you very firm.
I think I lost Antimo. I think our network was having a bit of a challenge. Please confirm if you can see me, so I can know that the challenge, if it's from me or if it's from I think it's from her, because I can see myself on YouTube. So please bear with us. I'm waiting for Auntie to come back. I think our network was having a bit of a challenge, but I'm sure she would rejoin us back now. We're speaking about, business management, risk management in business. He said, first question is, why do I want to start a business? What really is your purpose? What do you want to achieve? The second is, what do I know how to do best? So your question must be, what do I know how to do best? What do I find easy to do? Then the third must be realistic about funding. Be realistic about funding. So is there anything else that you also gained so far while we're waiting for her to come? Please write on the screen anything else that you gained from the conversation with Auntie Mo. I think Mom is back now.
Let me use my phone. I think my phone may be better. I was using my desktop, so maybe am I properly positioned?
You are perfect, man. I think the internet now is better.
Okay,
I think the internet.
I'm using my phone.
I said it was your internet.
But it worked perfectly in the morning, so I don't know what happened. So let me use it so it's better. So where did you lose me?
Mommy, so I got, why do I want to start a business? Number two, what do I know how to do best? Then where I lost you was, be realistic about funding.
Yes. So I was saying that
about funding.
Yes, a lot of people, a lot of banks don't give startups, especially small businesses, they don't give startups funding. So you start with your immediate constituency. What savings do you have? What would your friends and family contribute to what you're doing? And I was also saying that my mom, God rest her soul, said if you want to do a business, right, it's better for you to start when you complement what you're doing. I remember I had a colleague, right? No, well, not a colleague. And this young man came to me and said, "Oh, Auntie Mo, I'm really very interested in training, right? That he wants to leave the bank." And I said, "It's good, but what kind of savings do you have?" "Oh, I don't have anything." I said, "Look, my advice for you is to continue to be in the bank and save, because for consulting training, right? They don't come in as frequently as you would expect. I know most of the CEOs in the industry, or I knew them. A lot of them are much younger than me now. I knew them. So when I left, everybody was, "Oh, no, it's okay, Mosun, you can." "Oh, no, Auntie Mo, it's okay. It's you." But people overpromise and underdeliver. So have a savings. Once you have a savings, you can say, okay, I have this amount to live on for the next 6 months, 1 year, whether or not I have whether or not I have a consulting job to do or a training job to do. At least my family, my children will still go to school, and my wife will go to the market. So start small, and then you can now grow. Because when you're starting small, you can afford to make mistakes. So once you make mistakes, then you can fail forward and rectify the mistakes and go on. One of the challenges that you're going to be seeing is, they say there's no new thing under the sun. So it's going to be a major challenge for you to come with some new, creative, great ideas under the sun. So it's going to.
I can hear you, ma. I can hear you, ma. Keep going, ma.
Okay. All right. So I say one of the challenges that you're going to be having is coming up with that unique and great idea, because truly there's no new thing under the sun. So you can now decide to create something new out of the old, right? But you have to ensure that whatever you are creating, there is a market for it. So it is what somebody needs, because at times a lot of entrepreneurs go into businesses emotionally. So please do not be emotional about your business. Don't say, "Oh, I think it will work. Oh, it is nice to have. Oh, wouldn't it be great to do this?" Right? Yes, it might be great to do that, but if nobody is willing to pay, unless it is charity, so if nobody is willing to pay for what you are offering, maybe it's not so great. And again, one has to know when to enter the market. When there is a product or a service that is moving, there's usually that herd instinct that a lot of people rush into that market or into the production of that product or into rendering that service. But there's always a saturation point, right? So if you go in at the particular level that it is saturated, you just find that, oh, perhaps it's not as lucrative as you want. No matter how busy, brilliant your business plan is, you always have to support it with a marketing plan, right? A lot of brilliant products are available, but if people do not know about the product, I have a school, for example, everybody that goes to my school, sorry, with all sense of humility, so it's a fantastic school. But one thing that is lacking is people don't know about the school. So when people don't know about the school, how will they bring their children to school? So marketing is very, very important.
Marketing.
Joke that marketing is so important. Yes, it's like you know what you're doing. The lady doesn't know what you're doing, so you're just looking for the ultimate consumer. Another challenge you should be ready to face, unless you are going to be a one-man business. Workforce is very, 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 the typical Nigerian worker. Once you're I think I'm off again, or is it you? Okay, so things don't happen, or they take your business for there. So I know people who complain that their staff run parallel businesses. So all their customers, they just get into their business. So staffing will might be a challenge. Another challenge that entrepreneurs should be aware of, it is very, very time consuming. You might not have time for yourself or your family, especially when you're just starting the business. People underestimate the amount of time, the amount of preparation, and the amount of selling, right? The amount of grit is necessary to continue to be in business. And statistically, worldwide, by the time an organization is 5 years, 70% of the SMEs have died. right? So if you don't want to be a part of statistics, you have to ensure that you devote a lot of time. I also advise that you keep separate books for your own self and the company. My late husband had a big business. God rest of his soul. And I'll say, okay, as an accountant, I'm saying that, baby, let me check your books. Say, what books? Company money, my money. I'm the company now, so it's my money. So I said, no, it won't work. So fortunately, unfortunately, he was now ill. He was hospitalized for a while. And when he was discharged, he couldn't do anything. And I oversaw his business. And at the end of 1 month, I said, okay, look at how much you've made. He said, really? I said, yes. So keep separate books for the company and for your own self. And if need be, put yourself on a salary. My own consulting business, we're not making money, but I'm accruing for it. So when KRC makes money, I'm going to take my money. But I just don't just take money. So when I train, I pay myself the amount of money I pay my facilitators. And when I don't train, there's I don't collect anything, but I put myself on a salary. Okay. Like I said, we haven't made enough money to pay me, and they can't afford to pay me properly, but I'll manage whatever it is, right? I think I should stop there and you can ask me questions. Dayo, are you still there? You are muted.
Can you hear me, ma?
You are
Sorry.
muted. I
had to come.
You had to change. Okay.
I had to change, yes. I was downstairs in the living room, so I just had to move to my study. Sorry, I think the internet is better now, is it?
Well, I hope people are following. So the people who are following.
People are following. Oh, you are okay. It's me that I kept going, but I could hear you from YouTube. I could hear you, so I was watching you directly from YouTube. So there was a lot that I took up from there. Very time consuming. Marketing is essential. I was going to interrupt you when you were talking about marketing to say, how do I know the direct place to market, the right place to market? And what percentage of my budget should I be putting towards marketing?
I'm not a marketing person, but I have somebody who markets, and he says rough and dirty. Initially, about 20% of your operational cost will go to marketing, especially when you're just a startup, right? So you need to devote quite a bit of money on marketing, right? When you're marketing, remember, when you're designing your product, you have to determine who is this for, right? Who am I designing this product? Who do I want to sell this product to? Or who am I designing this service for? So it is those people that will now be your primary target. Like for my school, my friends are not my target because my friends' children, they are married and their own children are too young, so the grandchildren are too young. So it's for people like you or a little bit older than you that have secondary school children. So you have to determine who your service or your product is for and target your marketing towards that segment. You have to do your proper market segmentation. And a lot of people do all this social media marketing. And if you can't do it yourself, hire somebody, right? It's better to be penny wise, not pound foolish. Okay.
Ma, how do you balance between doing good and making profit?
I don't think they're mutually exclusive, especially when you're talking about sustainability, right? So when you're doing good, who are you doing good to, right? So it can be in terms of people, it can be in terms of the environment and profit, because it's actually a tripod kind of thing when you're talking about sustainability. So it's people, people, the planet, so PPP, people, planet, and profits, and they all go hand in hand. Like I said, it depends on what you have set your organization for, right? So doing good and making money is not mutually exclusive. So you can do good by ensuring that what you sell to the customers is value for money, right? So if you say this is my promise, uphold your promise, because people have bought into your promise. So deliver what you said, what you have promised. And sorry, I keep going back to my school. The school is comparative to any international school, so it's a balance. So I ensure that they are fee paying, but a lot of also scholarship students. So I solicit scholarship from my friends, from family members, so that the not so well-to-do can enjoy the benefit of world-class education. So you can balance. You can balance the two. So as long as somebody gets what you're promised, I think that is fine. So if I tell you that I'm selling this bag for $10,000, right? And it is crocodile skin, it is blah, 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 and it will last you for generations, right? If I decide to put the $10,000, I'm expecting to leave the bag to my daughter, and she will leave the bag to her own daughter. So once I put the bag in my cupboard and I don't use it for 1 year and the leather peels, then there's a problem. Okay, so profits and your work, they're not mutually exclusive, because a lot of business, not all businesses can be charity, right? And for you to be able to attract capital at times, it has to be profit driven. So if you can't attract capital to yourself, I mean, people invest because of returns. So if you're not making returns, then you might not get investment.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. When you're starting a business, how do you begin to risk-proof your business? How do you control risk, both systemic and non-systemic risk? How do you plan also for systemic risks, that risks that are out of your hands, global happenings, currency market, and all of that? Let me give you an example. What happened to us, man? I think it was in March, around February, March. Madam was going to order some product from China, and there was someone that was selling the product in Nigeria for like a little bit, let's say another $1 extra from Nigeria. And I said, don't buy from China, buy from Nigeria. That dollar doesn't matter when you look at the end goal. What then happened was, just when she ordered to buy from Nigeria extra fee, when she didn't pay the international person, they closed the border, they stopped importing from China, and that would have been crazy if she had gone. That was another risk, global happening. Nobody prepared for COVID. So how do you as an entrepreneur prepare for systemic risk like global happening, currency risk, market forces, and all of that?
You see, there are different levels of risks, right? So you have the industry-specific risk, right? You have your operational or business risk. You have the country risk. Then you have the global risk. So you have to start managing the risk. So number one is the risk identification first, right? So once you have identified those risks, now, okay, what risks are peculiar to my own business, right? I'm talking about.
Mommy, can I interrupt you there, ma? What would you consider as some of the country-specific risk of doing business in Nigeria?
Okay, number one, our rules and regulations are not anything to, for you to, our contract laws can be circumvented, right? Right. So if, for example, you and I enter into a business arrangement, you don't fulfill or I don't fulfill, you sue me, I can hold you in court forever, because the court system is not
is not as responsive as it should be, right? Again, for us in Nigeria, there's too many policy oscillations. You know, today you can do this, tomorrow you can't do it, next tomorrow, okay, it is fine to do. So people cannot plan because there are a lot of policy inconsistencies. And again, where
Okay, I'm not sure if this is me or if
the
this.
Nigerian council, you can say, okay, I believe what my there's a lot of distrust for politicians here because of all these inconsistent policies. So you can't now say, okay, I know for sure that in 2020, this is what I'm going to do. Even for foreign exchange, for example, if I'm going to do foreign exchange, unless I get my earnings that is foreign exchange driven, I will not borrow in foreign currency because you can't predict what foreign currency. So if PYT had bought, let's say she had opened LC China and it's not cash, like let's say she can pay in 90 days, for example. 360 3 months ago is now 480, and she would have sold at 360. So who bears the loss of 120 naira? So if you don't earn in foreign currency, don't take foreign currency exposure, right? So all those things that are what you can factor. So if you're going to do foreign currency, if you're going to import, make sure that all the costs are included. Let me share one of my experiences. I have a younger friend, so she does corporate gifts. So she wanted to borrow money, but because she needed the money very, very quickly, she couldn't. So she went to a finance house to borrow money. I said, okay, the beauty of a finance house is that if it is for a very short tenure, you can get your money and pay them very, very quickly. So it won't weigh you down. But the longer the amount remains outstanding, the interest expense becomes very burdensome. So yes, she borrowed the money, supplied the oil company, and I now said, have you paid the finance company? She said, yes. I said, did you make money? She said, yes, I made money. So how much did you make? I said, oh, really? He said, oh, it cost me this amount I bought the item. Let's say I bought the item for maybe $5, for example, and I gave it to them at $7. I said, really? How about the freight? Said, I paid for that on my own. How about the interest? And I paid for it on my own. I said, you haven't made any money, right? So make sure that, honestly, a lot of small businesses, please go and learn about bookkeeping, about accounting. It is imperative to know how to keep your books. Because she just thought, okay, I bought for $5, I'm selling it for $7. She hadn't put all the costs, right? Okay, you feel there, but I bought the ticket myself. So it's coming out of her own pocket. So she didn't
out of pocket.
All the, yeah. So businesses have to ensure that they know about how to keep books and keep separate books, like I said, for the business and for themselves.
Excellent, Ma. Thank you so much, Ma. Another thing that I wanted.
Sorry, we're talking about risk. About the pandemic. There's a difference between risk and uncertainty. Risk is, there's a probability of it happening. Uncertainty, you don't know, right? So you can manage risk, you can't manage uncertainty. Nobody knew that we would be locked down. Nobody foresaw this pandemic. So it's more of an uncertainty rather than a risk. So you can't manage uncertainty, but you can manage a risk. So you identify the risk. The first thing in managing a risk is the identification of the risk. Then you measure the risk. That, okay, this is the risk. What is the probability of it happening? If I know the probability of it happening, if the probability is so small, I can say, I'll take the risk. So if it happens, it is something that I will take, because the cost of you putting mitigants in place may be worth more than the risk that you're managing, right? Or if the risk is too high, haven't identified it, and you have measured it, you can say, this risk is too much. Let me manage it. Let me share it, right? So there are so many ways you can manage your risk.
Another concerns I have is about government regulation, businesses, what I would call managing regulatory risk and the culture of risk, developing a culture of risk in an organization. I've referred a lot to this example. For example, the issue of the bike ride-hailing companies that, had invested so much money, but then regulatory policies changed or was being enforced along the way, and as a result, it had some form of business impact for investors, allegedly. How do businesses, in particular operating in this climate, risk-proof themselves when it comes to regulatory provisions and pressure? And like you mentioned, contracts are not binding in this part of the world. New government can come tomorrow anywhere and create a new policy. How do you do business, bearing in mind that regulatory provisions can change?
That's a very it's a major challenge that businesses are having, and you will see that is why a lot of businesses are leaving Nigeria, right? I mean, let's call a spade a spade. We are so inconsistent with our policies. Dunlop, you're not too young to know, Dunlop was doing exceedingly well before, right? Then the government said, okay, they made a representation through Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, that look, we're local producers, and there is no way that we can be competitive given our environment with the imported tires. The tariffs on tires were increased. A few months down the line, the tariffs were reduced to maybe about 5%. That made Dunlop totally uncompetitive, and that was how Dunlop went down the drain. Michelin, some people call it Michelin, had to leave Nigeria to Ghana. So it's a combination of lack of power as well as policies that are not consistent. So our government needs to do a lot more in ensuring policy, and that is why the majority of businesses in Nigeria are very short-term focused, because you can't go into business for the long term. If you're going into business for the long term, you make your own provisions for yourself. You don't rely on government, right? You do everything yourself. You provide your power, you provide your water, you provide your roads and everything, right? So instead of rail, you put all your trucks on the road, make sure. So that is the only way you can guarantee your long-term success. So if you're waiting for government to put some things in place for you, it's not going to happen. So once a government comes, this is their own vision, and that is why you have projects that have stalled, because one government still has it as their project. Another government says, no, that's not my own priority, and they just abandon it, right? So we need to ensure that projects are seen to conclusion for the benefit of the total community.
How do I build business? How do I strengthen my company or organization's resilience?
Okay. For resilience, it's all about staying power. And I tell people that the structures you have in place as a 10 million naira company, the same structure will not support you as a 100 million or as a 1 billion company. Okay, I'll share you an experience you had. When I joined the board of Access, I was a member of the board credit committee. So they will take the they will take credits round until later we're sitting round. But before, earlier on, we will take the credit round to a board member that is member of the credit committee to sign off. So there was this company that was brought to me for sign off, and the amount was a lot. And I said, look, I had just left the banking industry. I was head of risk management. I was head of investment bank. I was head of corporate bank. So as head, I know all the big companies. So I said, this company that you're giving this company to, and I haven't heard, there's a problem. So I said, go and do the investigation. And unfortunately, the company went belly up because the company grew so quickly. A very brilliant man, he will remain nameless. Very, very brilliant. So, you know how very brilliant people do. So he was expanding rapidly. But his infrastructure stayed at the same level of the one-man business. So once you are expanding, you'll be putting structures in place to make sure that you're being supported. Why do you think Aliko Dangote has put all his companies on the stock exchange? Stock exchange gives him the responsibility of being transparent and also having order, right? He has
and system.
So he has systems in place to whether or not God elongates his life. So whether or not he lives, people are there. So if he's not available, the organizations are running, right? So you have, for resilience, you have to put structures in place to make sure that you're being supported, right? Have successors that know as much as you, if not more than you. So you can't be the only brilliant person in your office, right? Yeah, as you know, I was out of the country for almost 2 years, but my company was running very well because I have a fantastic program director. He is probably more brilliant than me. Certainly, a lot more agile, a lot more. A lot more aggressive. So you need to support yourself with people who are as good, if not better than you. Make sure that you train them, you expose them, right, to so that they can step into your shoes, right? So training is very, very important. And training is just not applications to beef up their continuously innovate, continuously say, okay, that I'm always fresh in my clients' minds.
But there's a concern, ma, that comes with also, in particular in the Nigerian client, when you, which is what I would call HR risk. When you invest so much in personnel and individual, and they take your template to go and replicate that in another organization or for their own organization, how do you manage HR risk?
Perhaps you were not here when I was saying that one of the challenges is about labor, right? So I have a friend who had a business and her staff was running a parallel business. So yes, all her clients were being diverted, So that is one of the risks that we run. So yes, choose your staff very well, but you can't control human beings. But you just have to be excellent, because people are bad. Doesn't mean that you should treat everybody with suspicion that everybody will be bad. Maybe not. In Guaranty Trust Bank and Access, they poach a lot of our staff, especially when in Guaranty Trust Bank when we just started, because we invested a lot in training. And it's like, why are we investing so much in training? And by the time we know them, people will be an ABO and they will be offered assistant manager, which was 3 steps beyond what they were. And Fala said, this is our own contribution to the society, right? Yes, we will continue to train. We will continue to ensure that we have excellent staff, right? We will not stop training because people would poach. So you can't say because people might take your staff, you won't expose them. People might take your stuff, you won't do well. Yes, do well, but make sure that you have backup situations, right? You can't stop the human person, right? At times you're lucky. I'm lucky in the kind of people that work with me. But then if they want to go, yes, you left what you were doing to do something else anyway. So that's life, right? You might stumble a little bit along the way, but once you're secured in your own knowledge, in your own product or service, you will always come out of it. Yes, it'll be a little bit shaky, but you'll come out of it.
Thank you, ma. How do you increase your risk appetite and tolerance capacity, ma?
See, all of us, we have different risk appetites, right? As an individual, personally, my risk profile is conservative. And I'm conservative because of my age or where I am at present. Your own risk profile might be adventurous because of where you are at this present point. So young people are more adventurous than older people. So for me now, it's about my capital preservation. If I get a little bit of interest or a little bit of appreciation, I'm fine. But for you, it's you risk it. So remember, for a young person, they're willing to risk. So if they fail, right, they can start very, very quickly. If God forbid, I can't lose my shirt now, but a 20-something-year-old man can lose. Number one, the shirt is still small anyway, right? So you risk when you're still young, right, and build over time. That is my personal view. I know older people who are also very risk-taking when it comes to that. I think the older you are, the more conservative you are, because life has shown you've taken your risks in the past. You've won some, you've lost some, and you are now stable. But young people, please do not be afraid of failure, because you regret things you don't do rather than things that you do. If you don't dare, you won't win. So he who dares wins. So you can't say, I might fail. Yes, but you might also succeed. So dare, right? If you fail forward. Chalk it up to experience. Dust yourself and go up again. So you can't live life and being conservative all through life. I have taken risk, then I have plateaued and I'm cruising. So when you're young, still don't take your risk when you're in your 60s or 70s. What are you trying to prove? Right? Take your risk when you're young, because you can now learn from your successes or your failures and move forward. So don't be afraid of failure. Yes, everybody wins some, loses some, but you have to make a decision. Just don't coast along. Life will pass you by.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking to my big auntie, Mrs. Tamara Matt Mosun Belo-Olusoga. Before we wrap up, ma.
Very well done. You call Tamara Matt well. A lot of people stumble on Tamara Matt.
I tried, ma. I'll tell you the secret about that later. So,
okay.
Before we wrap up, ma, I want to speak to you about women's leadership. And you have been the first of many things. You have, you've broken and shattered the ceiling. How do we get more women into public sector leadership? In particular, who have experiences from the private sector, have shown success, and they can bring those experiences and skills into the public sector?
Okay, that's one of the challenges, because there was a time I was giving a paper somewhere, and I said, women, we need to be a lot more involved in politics, instead of complaining. And I asked the women at that forum that, okay, how many of you are even party members? And very, very few people are actually card-carrying party members. I am guilty as well, right? So we need to be a lot more involved. And that is where you find organizations such as WIMBIS, right? So WIMBIS used to be women in management and business, right? But they've now said women in management and business and politics. right? Because we have to get into politics. One of the problems about in Nigeria is that there are too few women in policy making decision roles in our legislature. In Rwanda, maybe more than half, between 45 and 55% of the legislators are women. More than half of their ministers are women. And you can see how Rwanda is, right? So women are natural, they're not natural, not naturals, so they nurture, right? They're multitaskers, they have empathy, and they come with another mindset to problem solving, right? So, but you can't now come and say, I want to be a senator just from your room. You have to also get your hands dirty. So be card carrying members, be go for all the rallies and things like that. So a lot more women really need to be involved in politics. So if you're not a card carrying member, it's not likely you get a nomination or you go for the primaries, not to talk of being elected.
So what would you say is holding women's back? Do you think the culture is also holding women back? Is the ability to manage work-life balance, is it holding women back? In management and in business leadership.
A little bit of both, and I think yes, a little bit of uh, um, family issues and a little bit of our culture, right? Because again, at IOD, I presented a paper and I discovered that at entry level, you had about 50-50 male female. But by the time you go through the pyramid, women start dropping off from middle level. They get married, they have children, they now say, okay, it's too stressful, I need something, so I'm now doing a business by the side, or I'm now a stay-at-home mom and things like that. So yes, it's a lot more, it's cultural, but it's just not in Nigeria, it's everywhere in the world. So everywhere in the world, there are fewer women. But I'm glad to say more and more of our younger colleagues, younger female colleagues are they're a lot more upfront, right? They're a lot more involved, and they are able to balance themselves more. So yes, work-life balance is an issue, but I always say that you can get through the work-life balance by ensuring that you get adequate support from wherever that you need to get support from. And truly, if that is not what you want to do, own it. So if I decide to be a full-time homemaker, it is my decision, but I will not let anybody tell me what I can do and what I can't do. I am the captain of my own ship. I'm the determinant of my fate. So I determine what I want to do and not what the society says I should do or what family says I should do. It's between me and God.
Absolutely. What role has your faith played in your business success? You've risen chairperson of first lady chairperson of Access Bank. You sit on top of many organizations. All of these achievements that we celebrate today. What role has your faith played in this success?
As you can see, I'm a Muslim. So one of and people who know me.
Eid Mubarak, ma.
In advance, inshallah, we'll see it. On my iPad, my iPhone, my message is be kind to one another as Allah has been merciful to you. So and my name also, you said Tamramad, Rahma in Arabic means mercy. So the meaning of my name is the fruit of God's mercy. So I try to portray kindness, mercy. But I'm also disciplined, because when people think about, oh, she's nice, right? I'm nice, I'm not stupid, right? I'm nice, but I'm also disciplined. and I make no apologies, right? So you can be kind, but also be disciplined as to what your work is. So I try to be fair. Also be disciplined as to what your work is. So right. I try to be fair.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, my network went away again. But I'm happy that we've been able to steer the ship very well
Also
so far
respect
without
to
total disruption. Yes, mommy. This is my final question, and I want you to add to it your closing message, and that is, if you by the time you have to, let's say, so imagine yourself 90 by the
I
grace
think
of God.
Yeah.
Yes, man. 90, 100, 120, 150 by the grace of God.
So you are saying about my faith. You know, I know that.
And you have to write.
I didn't.
Yes,
Sorry?
man.
I
So
didn't
I
hear you.
said, imagine yourself 100, 120, 150, whatever you desire from the Almighty. And you have to write a letter to your granddaughter and your grandson from grandma, a love letter from grandma to granddaughter and grandson. What is the 5 lesson and message you think that you would share with them in that letter?
Okay. Be kind. Do your best. Trust God, because at times your best might not be good enough. Trust God, right? So I said, be kind, right?
Yes.
Just do your very, very best. Trust God. Trust God. Love God. Depend on God. So for me, it's all about God, and just trying to do your best and be kind. So they say love your neighbor as yourself. Just do what you want to do, right? If I want what is good for me, I will want what is good for Dayo, right? So if I know that this thing would be detrimental to me, I won't do it. So for me, I'm just saying that just enjoy life, enjoy the ride. Good times do not last. Bad times also don't last. So when you have a bad day, right, just know that it's just one of those things. Don't beat yourself up to it. Successes come and go, right? People say, oh, and no, you've been this, you've been that. And I said, yeah, but I didn't just go like that. So my trajectory is up and down, up and down, up and down. But thank God, by the time you draw a line through, it's ended up, right? But life is not all about smooth sailing. So if anybody tells you that life is all about smooth sailing, it is not. So one of the other things is that you would have challenges in life, and that is part of life. You will have problems in life. That is part of that. That is telling you that you are still alive. It is only the dead that don't have problems. So problems and challenges are part of life, and they're there to be resolved. So that is number 4. I'll think about the number 5 one.
Maybe number 5 will be daring. Take risk.
Okay, take risk. Yeah, you have to, because if you don't take the risk, you won't. I like I said, he who dares wins, right?
Yes.
It's better for you to say I tried rather than say, oh, had I known. There's nothing like the Yorubas will say, "Abamo lo ngbeyin oro." Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ kábàámọ̀ gbẹ̀yìn wa. Had I known, I would have done that, or had I known, I wouldn't have done that. So it's better for you to say, at least I tried it. Okay, it didn't work out, but I did try.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alaja Tamra Mat Mosun Belo-Olusoga, the former chairman of Access Bank Nigeria.
You called me fool. Oma sanwó orúkọ mi.
Thank you, Mommy. Mommy, you know I can't afford it. So you're paying on my behalf.
Don't worry.
We have all been blessed. There's so we've all been blessed Oladira Falabi says, thank you for the very kind advice. Double Grace says, thank you so much, ma. We have all. If you've learned something, please post and let's see if I can project some of your gratitude. We're very grateful for your time, ma. And we hope that when we go live after COVID and we have the CovInspiration Live Convention, that you would also, you've always been there, mommy. You've always been there. We know that by the grace of God, you continue to be there for us by the grace of the Almighty. Thank you for your time tonight. We've learned a lot. It's 1 hour, 9 minutes, and it's like we shouldn't go, but I have to respect your time and all of that. So I have to pray you, but we've had a great, there's so much of notes that we're taking, and the link for this will be shared around so that even those who did not join us live can watch it later. The Lord bless you and keep you in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it and I enjoyed myself as well.
Thank you. And to all of those who are watching, we appreciate you for your data and we say great, thank you so much for tuning in. Tony Olumide says your session was explosive, man, and it was very practical as well. We thank God for your life, man. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.